Let's give you the markets update now, and local trade will be looking to stage a rebound today. The JSE and the Rand ending the last session firmer after key U.S. jobs data. Let's speak now to Chantal Marx, Head of Equity Research at FNB Wealth and Investments. Chantal, good morning to you. Happy Monday. Let's start with that quick overview of how the markets are faring at the JSE so far.
Hi. Yes, it's been quite surprising. The market opened lower as we were expecting, given that most global markets were under pressure this morning. But we've since seen a really nice pop upwards, and that really has been as a result of support from the gold miners and in the banking index performing well again today. On Friday, the banking index did particularly well because Standard Bank released a very strong trading statement, and that seems to have followed into this morning as well. We're also seeing some support for some of the smaller property companies. Of course, the mining sector is weighing on the index overall, with the exception of the golds. We did see commodity producers in Australia coming under fire this morning as well.
Let's talk about the latest update to the Economist's Big Mac Index. This shows that the Rand is 50% undervalued. Talk us through the matrix of this, Chantal, this index and its overall finding.
So it's quite a crude index because it literally just looks at the value of a Big Mac in South Africa versus the value of a Big Mac in the US, and then it calculates an exchange rate or an implied exchange rate based on the different price of these burgers at the McDonald's. So what it tells you is that the buying power of your Rand is a lot stronger than it is of your dollar, and that the Rand in effect should be a lot stronger relative to the US dollar. What it doesn't take into account, though, are factors like interest rate differentials, inflation differentials. All of these things play a role in determining the fair value of a specific currency. And then, of course, in South Africa, we have the added complexity of sentiment, for example, also weighing on the assessment of risk of investing in South Africa or owning rands relative to US dollars. So it is quite valuable in seeing just how much buying power your Rand has. And it does point to a undervaluation of the Rand, which we agree with, but definitely not to the 50% extent that's being suggested by the Big Mac Index.
Wow. That's a very nice explanation there. Let's talk oil, which stands firm near a 4-month high on the back of the OPEC Plus cuts. Help us make sense of those moves.
So the oil story has also been very interesting. We know that economic growth globally is under pressure, so that is generally bad for oil prices. But there's also been some other pressures on the oil price, and a lot of these big oil producers, they think that a lot of it is driven by financial markets, by what we call derivatives. So people basically betting on the oil price continuing to go down. And that has had a negative impact on oil prices. So what they've done in response is they've cut supply in an effort to bring the oil market either in balance or into a slight deficit, which will be supportive of oil prices going forward. The first cut we had a few months ago was actually a pretty big surprise to the market, but we now know that the intention, or the absolute intention of these oil producers is to lift oil prices to a place where they're more comfortable in terms of them being able to produce it profitably. So I don't think it was too much of a surprise, but it's certainly going to place upward pressure on the oil price.
Let's conclude with minor. Pan-African Resources, which has achieved its lowered annual gold production guidance. Give us your overall analysis of their numbers in the period under review.
So we haven't had the full set of results yet, and I think that that's when we'll be able to make more meaningful conclusions, and at that point the company will probably provide us with production cost and capital expenditure guidance for the next year. But what this tells us is that nothing else went wrong since they revised their guidance lower in May. And I think that investors will feel comfortable that that they're going to get a print that they expected, and there aren't going to be any further funnies coming through in their results next month. Pan African Resources is a gold mining company, of course, today also benefiting from firmer gold prices and a general sentiment lift in the index this morning.
Chantal Marx, Head of Equity Research at FNB Wealth and Investments. Thank you very much for that markets update.